And a very warm welcome to the penultimate session. We will speak about the South-North realignment, the infrastructure development in Southeast Europe as a bridge between South and North. I have a very competent and distinguished set of panelists with me. Next to me, Ioannis Kirkinezis. Ioannis, you're Vice President and Managing Director for the Balkans of HIL International, one of the largest American project management and construction management companies. Next, Angelos Vlachos. Angelos, you will give us the point of view from the perspective of port development and connectivity to other ports, to industrial centers. Jesus Caballero, next to Angelos. Jesus, well, I'm very pleased to meet and welcome you as the CEO of Sofia Airport, a first contact point to everyone coming to Bulgaria very often, and also a place I very frequently fly by to. So welcome to the panel. And last but not least, who will start the panel, who will give us context of the discussion from a regional perspective and regional development point of view, Ambassador Michael Christides. Michael, you served as an ambassador of Greece to Sofia. You also served as a deputy chief of mission prior to that here. You served as ambassador to Turkey, and also you were 2 terms Secretary General of the Black Sea Economic Cooperation Organization. You're also fellow of the Balkans and Black Sea Forum. So take it from there. I mean, where are we as a region in terms of regional connectivity, and how is this connectivity opening new opportunities? What needs to be done so we become more closely integrated as a region, but also within the wider scope of Europe as an economy?
Well, first of all, let me thank the organizers for inviting me again to this prestigious forum, the Sofia Economic Forum. I was here also the last time, 2 years back. Allow me to start, though, Professor, with a very personal remark. My first trip to Sofia was on a cloudy, rainy Friday in January 2001, when I was driving from my hometown, Thessalonica, to the Greek embassy in Sofia to pick up my mandate as number 2 in the embassy. And I must tell you that it took me perhaps more than 6.5 hours to cross the border, pass the controls, drive on the very, let me say, rudimentary roads existing at that time, both in my country and in Bulgaria. And so many years later, yesterday, I drove from Thessalonica again to Sofia, and I don't think we made more than 3 hours with no checking at the border points and with using, of course, these beautiful motorways both in Bulgaria and Greece. So from the beginning, I can say that in what concerns connectivity, we have come a long way. Perhaps not as fast as we would like to, but I think we did. Then allow me to say that I find it refreshingly interesting that for the first time, perhaps, we are talking about infrastructure alignment from north to south. Until now, we were talking about Southeast Europe as the horizontal bridge from east to west. And I hope that the reason for this new discussion is not only this aggression against Ukraine that we are witnessing for the last 2 years. In any case, the situation of today globally and especially in the region make the improvement of infrastructure development a must in our region. And it is even more a must because obviously we are lagging behind from the other parts, other regions of Europe. There is a lot to be done. I must say that I've been following the forum from the early morning, we had heard the ministers. There is a lot that has been done in what concerns transport connectivity. We are talking about European networks. We are talking about new corridors that are serving the region. We are talking about new corridors that will expand the facility of transport also to the vacuum created by the Western Balkans, who are not yet part of the European Union. We heard about energy just during the last panel, energy connectivity. I don't want to dwell in this sector. Very, very interesting. We have perhaps progressed much more there. But of course, I believe that connectivity and infrastructure development is not only, let me say, trade. It is much more than that. And my experience, who you mentioned as Secretary General of the Black Sea Economic Cooperation Organization, which is exactly promoting the economic cooperation among its member states, economic cooperation in the broadest sense, was a rather, let me say, not very positive experience, in the sense that member states were approaching projects promoting regional connectivity in the wider Balkan and Black Sea region, rather hesitating or perhaps not being convinced that their actual interests were being served. I say this because, for instance, some flagship projects of the organization, like the Black Sea Ring Road, or intermodal transports, or better facilities at the border cross points and so on, all this remained, let me say, stagnant for many, many years. So I would conclude this first intervention by saying that there is a lot to be done. We have covered lately a lot of ground, perhaps because the necessities are much greater today than they were yesterday. And with a more optimistic tone, I'm really confident that Southeast Europe, as a north to south bridge, but also as an east to west bridge, is of utmost importance, not only for the countries in the region, but for the whole European and also Central Asian region. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you so much, Ambassador Christides. Indeed, stressing on the geostrategic location of our region, not just being north-south or east-west, but a crossroad, a very, very important civilization in history, but nowadays economic roots. I want to pass the ball to Ioannis. Ioannis, give us a little bit more about the trade routes, the transport and infrastructure corridors, which can actually improve not only the potential, but the economic growth momentum of the region.
Okay, thank you, Iliya. I would like to make it a bit more visible. I have one, let's say, PowerPoint about all these corridors. Actually was discussed, and a lot has been said in the previous panels. Actually, the Southeast European countries have a pivotal role in the European transport, gas, and energy and power lines. Now, actually, I will focus only on the corridors affecting our area. From the TEN-T corridor, this is the pan-European transport network with the 9 corridors that actually only 2 affects our countries, and on this one I will focus. So this is the first is the Orient-East Med corridor connecting Black, Baltic with the Black and Mediterranean seas. Let's say passing, let's say all this, the Europe, and affecting Romania, Bulgaria, and Greece. There is also the water corridor, the Rhine-Danube corridor, actually affecting Bulgaria and Romania. The Corridor 8 actually connects Adriatic Sea with the Black Sea, connecting this through Italy, Albania, North Macedonia, and Bulgaria. The Corridor 10 actually connects the Central Europe with the Adriatic Sea and Mediterranean Sea, Aegean Sea. The Adriatic-Ionian corridor, this is actually the blue corridor connecting Slovenia through all, let's say, the Adriatic coastal countries, connecting to Greece till Kalamata, the southest, let's say, town in Greece. Also, we have the sea-to-sea mega project, I think we discussed before, and maybe our colleague will talk later, connecting the Thessaloniki port with the Kavala port, Alexandroupolis, to Burgas, Varna, and Ruse in Danube. Also, there are the pipeline corridors. This is actually the South Gas Corridor, connecting Caspian Sea with Europe, passing through TANAP. This is Trans-Anatolian Adriatic Pipeline, through TAP in Greece, and going to Italy. We have also the vertical gas corridor, a lot has been said before, actually connecting Greece with Bulgaria, Romania, going to Moldova till Ukraine, and not to forget that this expands to Hungary and go to Slovakia. And we have the Alexandroupolis port as a regional hub for energy hub, connecting, let's say, all these networks and expanding from till the Central Europe. These are actually the transport, the gas, and the power line corridors. Sorry. The power line corridors actually are the one subsea cable connecting Israel with Cyprus and Greece. And this is the Asia interconnector, and this is also the Africa interconnector connecting Egypt with the Greece and Cyprus. Actually, these are the corridors.
Well, thank you. I mean, that really puts into practicality what Ambassador Christides gave us as a regional context. I wanted to follow up a little bit on what also Michal mentioned, that we see acceleration of the development process and the investment process over the last few years. How do we keep this momentum going forward, and what would be further catalyst of accelerating the positive impact on the regional and local economy from utilizing the transport corridors and the connectivity between key infrastructure hubs like ports, yes, airports, and all the other aspects?
Okay, let's see now how these corridors actually contribute to the development of Southeast European countries. First of all, we have the economic growth and investment. Infrastructure development actually attract large investment for the roads, rail, and energy projects. Also, we have industrial growth because the better connectivity and energy security actually is an incentive for the investors to invest and, let's say, actually to develop the country. Also, we have tourism boost, better transport networks. Actually, it is facilitate, let's say, the area to be more attractive as a tourist destination. Also, energy security and diversification actually give us less dependency on the Russian gas and stable energy supply. We have also social and environmental benefits, job creations, stable energy supply, and urban development. Also, we have technological advancement and modification because new technologies are adopted and digitalization. This actually pave the way for the Southeast European countries to play, a more significant role in the European and global economy.
So what would be the key to keeping the accelerated momentum for development alongside the corridors into the near and longer term future? What would be the constructive and positive role of the different stakeholders?
Actually, we have to be a consensus and, a regional agreement between the countries because this actually projects span different countries, so we have to align the regulations of the European legislation with the local legislation in order to facilitate the development and realization of the project.
Well, Angelos Vlachos, I know that the last point which Ioannis made is very close to your heart and expertise as well. Ioannis's last two slides showed very clearly the connectivity which could be opened by developing the ports alongside the Adriatic and the Black Sea, and particularly the importance of the local ports, local regional ports as energy hubs for the region. If we take it from the perspective of this key infrastructure, the advantages are clear, but are there deficiencies, and how can we overcome those deficiencies in order to realize more quickly the full potential of the region?
Yes, we tend to focus on the advantages, and it's eloquent in the context of this sort of debates, but usually we tend to neglect the deficiencies. My colleague here, Mr. Kirkinezis, he just mentioned before the problem of this intrastate collaboration. We're speaking over the map, and this was a very valuable and useful presentation, but we tend not to speak that much about the certain terms of these intrastate agreements that should be done at many levels. So as this project could be viable, and so as to this collaboration we're talking about to be fully materialized. Now, if you allow me, I will try in a rather unorthodox approach to demarcate a few but initial remarks in this debate by my side, speaking by and large about the ports, but not focusing solely on the infrastructure. At first, connectivity in our days has been highlighted not as a single keyword, but I would dare to describe it as a holy grail of the emerging new era. Now, is it happening the way we refer to this, or is it still a vision? In my perspective, as I will try to show maybe at the latter in your questions, it's still a wish, not a gained ground. So we have to speak about that as something we have to conquer. B, developing infrastructure serves as the prerequisite, undoubtedly, of any broader venture. However, connectivity is also related to certain initiatives, not necessarily material. This is the interstate collaboration. By the state side, by entrepreneur side, by all the stakeholders involved sides. C, speaking about the ports, investing in infrastructures at all levels is a one-way road. Naturally, if we speak about the ports, this includes constructing terminals and storage places at the port level, adding the railway line with all those segments required so as to connect the line with the central network. D, investing broadly on technological innovation. Early in this morning, I recall in my memory the remarks that have been made by the ministers over that and by our esteemed colleagues about the need of the changing the policy of EU over the innovation. It seems that at the port side, there are different priorities that they should be taken into account at the EU level. And E, certain barriers still exist in many connectivity projects in our area. Whether we admit it or not, they have to be removed. If you allow me to give you a single example. The port of Kavala, I'm honored to represent, is between the port, if you check the map, of Thessaloniki at the line and Alexandroupolis. Then you have the checkpoint of Promachones, which is the Greek name, right up to Thessaloniki, or you also have the other checkpoint right up to Alexandroupolis. There's also in the middle between Bulgaria and Greece, over the borderline, a couple of more trespassing points of checkpoints. I don't know how many of you are aware that these are not open, for example, for trucks or buses, which practically means that for ports like my port, which is in the middle of northern Greece at the Egnatia Axis, it means that the northeastern part of the region cannot be connected with the southern part of Bulgaria, such as Kardzali, for example, which means that connectivity for us at this level is still a stake, it's still a wish.
We often speak about connectivity between the key infrastructural hubs and sometimes neglecting the connectivity between them and the regional or local industrial centers. You have pioneered, collaboration along those lines in both directions with Port of Burgas on one side, but you just mentioned one of the regions in Bulgaria which is developing as an industrial area and the potential benefits it will have from expanding this, particularly with Schengen now, the opportunities for the very region itself. Walk us a little bit through the aspects of public-private partnership and the experience you had in Greece in order to not just accommodate and facilitate, but also accelerate that kind of development and improve the investment climate, attracting more investment in long-term infrastructure projects?
This is an eloquent question, a valid question. Let me state a few words about the current experience gained in Greece over the last decade as regards the concession of the ports. We have, for example, two large ports, the Piraeus and Thessaloniki port, where what we have seen so far is that the pace, let's say, we're still lacking time. We're still behind. We should expect a transformation that has not, in my perspective, it has not taken place yet. Why? To give you an example. It has to do with the infrastructure of the railroad, the railway. This is well known and established in the case of Thessaloniki. Earlier today, the Minister of Transport and Infrastructure of Greece, Mr. Staikouras, made a certain reference about the project of the railway line at the Egnatia Axis, which is connecting Thessaloniki, the port of Kavala, commercial port of Kavala, Alexandroupolis, and then to Ruse. It has to be implemented as soon as possible. I'm quite optimistic about that. Now, speaking about the public and private, let's say, partnership, based on my experience, I would say that the relevant states should be more, let's say, give further feedback and guidance over solid lines to the concessionaires, taking into account the time required for this transformation. Otherwise, we're going to find this part of Southern Europe staying behind. So time could be an ally, but in our case, could be an enemy if we don't act fast. And the last point over that is to engage even bold initiatives. Here, right now in front of me, there are representatives of certain initiatives speaking about roads and new, let's say, ambitious projects that should be taken into account by the side of certain governments so as to go further. Sometimes at the government level, I would say, we are not bold enough. We are quite reluctant or we are losing time. So having this fine-tuning is a certain desideratum, is a request. We should stick to this.
Well, time obviously is a fact, especially when strategic and long-term projects like that are taking place. Bringing in the PPP into the conversation, there is no one better, perhaps, than Jesus Caballero to give us the Bulgarian perspective, an example of how PPP is helping now develop the very vital infrastructure for connectivity, which is the Sofia airport. Jesus, what brought you to these projects, and why someone with experience like you sees a pivotal potential in projects like the concession of the Sofia airport? An airport is not necessarily south, north, or east, west connectivity hub. It is generally no boundaries and no direction connectivity, because it has huge potential to link a city to any point of the world. But why Sofia, and what is the experience you have had so far?
Mm-hmm. No, first of all, thank you very much to the organization to inviting me. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. So as you mentioned, air connectivity, we are 360 degrees. We are not axis north-south or east-west, so we are 360 degrees. And air connectivity is key for the development of the country, but also for the development of the region. It is completely key, especially in Eastern Europe, where we see that the ground transportation is not yet developed compared to Western Europe or Central Europe. So to connect fast and between us and the region, the only fast solution is the air connectivity. So what we are doing in this direction to increase the air connectivity of the country and Sofia as a capital airport, we have an ambitious goal to become a regional airport hub. And what we are doing to achieve it, and because we are achieving it, last year we increased 10% our traffic, 10%. Maybe it's not telling you too much, but you compare to Europe, the total traffic growth in Europe, air traffic, was 5%, and the capital airport of Bulgaria is growing 10%. It's not accidental. It's not happening because it is happening because we are investing every year more than 20 million levas in opening new destination, bringing new airlines, and so on and so forth. But the economic contribution of this 10% in traffic increase to the GDP of Bulgaria is 500 million levas. So 20 million levas from our pocket, it is contributing to 500 million levas to the country. So this is to give you an example of how developing and investing in the air connectivity is helping quickly the economy of the country. But more things, because this is from the macroeconomic perspective, but then if you see, we go to the concession area and the PPP, because to develop the air connectivity, you need three main things. You need to be competitive, because the air transportation is extremely competitive. The decision is in the airlines. And the airlines are making the decision to go to a country, to go to a destination based on your competitiveness and based on your infrastructure capacity. So you need to be competitive, you need to develop your infrastructure, and third, you need speed in your decision and in your transformation. And the speed, to gain this speed, you need PPP, this private-public partnership. You need this, because the government, they don't have the mechanism, the procedures, the policies. It is not designed in a fast way. That's why you need these PPPs. And the concession of the airport, what we are accelerating this. And to keep on contributing to this air connectivity, so we need to develop the airport. In this area, we are investing, as you know very well, in the new Terminal 3 that will be by 2031 up and running. But then during the first 3 years of the concession, we invested 120 million leva. This year, we are investing 36 million levas. But the local contribution is also huge, because during the first 3 years of the concession, we contributed to the incomes of the government with 700 million levas. It is between the upfront concession fee, but taxes, social contribution, and so on and so forth. So you see, from the macro perspective to the local and to the speed, it is extremely important. So if you were asking me at the beginning, why I came to this project.
Why you see a potential, this huge potential which you have already, outlined in Sofia, and also in the context, perhaps not only in terms of passenger traffic, but the intermodality aspect of it, and linking such an important hub like Sofia Airport to other key hubs in the region in order to create more momentum, attractiveness to investment, not necessarily only in the key infrastructure project, but in the wider region as a whole.
Yeah, exactly, because Sofia is very well situated geographically to benefit for this ambitious goal that we are trying to achieve, to this regional hub. So, and what we are doing is, since the beginning, we established a strategy to boost the air connectivity of the capital airport, because there is potential, and this is the way to attract more investors. No? So, because what we are doing during the last three years, we increased 25% the air connectivity. And this is also attracting the interest of more investors, of more airlines, more destinations. So our air connectivity strategy is based in 3 pillars. One is to connect Sofia to the world through the main hubs. With only one stopover, you can reach Sofia from whatever part of the world. Secondly is to connect Sofia with as much point-to-point destination with the low-cost carriers, and then the tour operation. So this, and we have a goal to increase every year between 10 new destinations. This is the way to connect our market to the world. But this is from the air connectivity perspective, but this is attracting, let me give you more example, opening new investors to come through the airport concession. Because to give you an example, we are bringing the leader in the airport industry sector, in the retail airport operator, in the food and beverage airport operator, and this global leader, they are coming through the airport, setting new companies, recruiting new employees, and now we have more than 6,000 employees in the airport community. So this is the way to boost. So you need, as long as you are increasing the air connectivity, you are contributing to the local economy. And the link is every time you are increasing 10% your air connectivity, the GDP of the region is growing 0.5%. So meaning that we contributed to 1.5% additional to the GDP of the country. Then maybe we don't have too much time, but I can give you more details in one-to-one session.
You said it well. I mean, time is a factor not only in infrastructural development, but also our friend and enemy to all moderators. I mean, we're wrapping up the discussion, but you gave us a lot of food for thought of, how multifaceted, the development of connectivity would be. I would like to invite Ambassador Christides to give us like a few final words about after this conversation, are you more positive and optimistic about keeping this accelerated momentum going forward? And also, someone like you with all this experience working with governments in the region and cross borders, when we speak about public-private partnership and attracting the private capital into cross-border and connectivity projects, where are the challenges in terms of synchronizing these processes and making it go forward at the necessary pace?
Yeah. Well, I believe you touched upon a very vital aspect. What is lacking mainly is capital, and that's why private capital is very much needed. We have to see more PPP projects in what concerns infrastructure, public-private partnerships. This is very, very important. And unfortunately, perhaps one of the sectors where more capital is needed is, I believe, I'm not an expert, but are the railways. For instance, take into account that only some years back, there was a regular connection, railway connection between Sofia and Thessaloniki. I don't know if it exists today. There was a regular connection between Thessaloniki and Istanbul. You could even take your car on the train, sleep in the sleeping wagon, and arrive after, 10 hours in Istanbul. things that do not exist today. But there, of course, we need huge investments, huge capital. And before closing, I would also like to say that hearing what all the, let me say, experts said about connectivity, that infrastructure is also a catalyst for unifying fragmented regions. What we need is inclusive planning. There we have to do much better. I mean inclusive planning in the region. And then let us not forget also, and I'm closing with that, that we need also connectivity in what concerns technology and innovation. Technology and innovation today influences geopolitical decisions and the geostrategic state of affairs in the region. So we have, in order to integrate the region completely, try and find ways to share technology innovation in our region by having data available to all, by having the stakeholders themselves finding ways and means to cooperate on a transboundary fashion.
Well, it's great to finish on an upbeat note like that and to outline the potential of connectivity in infrastructure, but also in technology, in innovation, in communication, as something which perhaps will overcome centuries of other sentiments and make this region vibrant, dynamic, as it already is, and going to the future as a contributor to economic development in Europe. Well, with this, before I invite my dear friend and colleague George Kremlis, who will be moderating the next panel, please join me with your applause in thanking our great panelists, Ioannis Kirkinezis, Angelos Vlachos, Jesus Caballero, and Michael Christides. Thank you. Thank you.